Go down into your parents' or grandparents' basement, tucked away in a corner, probably sitting on a particle board shelf behind a stack of old magazines. There it is. A massive, heavy stereo receiver with a brushed silver face, a constellation of inscrutable knobs, and a huge glass tuning dial. Next to it are a pair of giant wooden speakers, the size of small end tables. Your first thought is almost certainly, wow, look at that ancient piece of junk. It's obsolete technology from a bygone era. It doesn't have Bluetooth, it can't connect to Wi-Fi, and it weighs a ton. It's destined for the curb on trash day, right? But before you even think about moving it, what if I told you that you might be looking at a high-fidelity masterpiece? What if that obsolete junk was built with a quality of engineering that is almost impossible to find today? What if that forgotten stereo system is actually a highly sought-after treasure? With audiophiles and collectors willing to pay hundreds or even thousands of dollars to get their hands on it. Today on Treasure Hunters, we're plugging in and turning up the volume on one of the most surprising and rewarding collectible markets out there. The golden age of vintage hi-fi audio. Welcome back to Treasure Hunters. From the 1950s through the late 1970s, America was obsessed with sound. It was the golden age of high fidelity or hi-fi audio, before everything became small, plastic, digital, and disposable. Audio equipment was engineered with a completely different philosophy. It was built like a tank, designed by passionate engineers and focused on one single goal: to reproduce music with a warmth, depth, and power that was as close to a live performance as possible. These weren't just electronics. They were pieces of furniture, the centerpiece of the American living room. Companies with names like Marantz, McIntosh, Pioneer, and Sansui were in an arms race to build the most powerful, best-sounding, and most beautiful equipment possible. Then, in the 1980s, things changed. Plastic became common, mass production took over, and the focus shifted from quality to convenience. Replaced by black plastic boomboxes and eventually tiny digital players. But now, a massive resurgence is underway. A new generation of listeners and a dedicated community of lifelong audiophiles have rediscovered the magic of these vintage systems. They are hunting for these specific pieces, not just for nostalgia, but because they believe that the sound produced by this old gear is superior to almost anything made today. And that has created a booming market where that old stereo in the basement might be your most valuable antique. So, you've unearthed an old system. How do you know if you have a common appliance or a coveted classic? The value is determined by a specific set of factors, a combination of technology, craftsmanship, and brand reputation. Let's break down the anatomy of a valuable system. First, you need to understand the great technology debate, tubes versus solid state. In one corner, you have the original technology, tube or valve amplifiers. These were dominant from the 1950s through the mid-1960s. When you look inside these units, you'll see a series of glass vacuum tubes that look like elongated light bulbs. When powered on, these tubes glow with a warm orange light. Tube amplifiers are revered for the sound they produce. Audiophiles describe it as warm, rich, liquid, or three-dimensional. They have a way of reproducing vocals and instruments that sounds incredibly natural and lifelike. Because this technology is older and more complex, tube gear from legendary American brands is often the most valuable category of vintage audio. Finding a working tube amplifier from a major brand is a discovery of the highest order. In the other corner, you have solid-state receivers, which took over from the late 1960s to the late 1970s. This is the silver era of hi-fi. Instead of tubes, these machines use transistors. This allowed them to be much more powerful and reliable. These are the iconic heavy receivers with the beautiful brushed aluminum faceplates, weighted tuning knobs that glide like silk, and often a beautiful blue or green backlit dial. This was the peak of Japanese and American audio manufacturing, a time when companies competed on build quality. These monster receivers, as they're called, were packed with massive transformers and huge capacitors, and they were built to last a lifetime. A high-wattage receiver from this era is a true treasure. Next, you need to understand the holy trinity of components. A great hi-fi system is made of three key parts. The heart of the system is the amplifier or receiver. An amplifier simply provides power to the speakers. A receiver does that. Plus, it has a radio tuner built in. This component is where most of the value is usually concentrated. It's the brains and the muscle of the operation, and its brand, model, and power output determine its place in the pecking order. The source of the music is the turntable. In the vintage world, a quality turntable is a machine of incredible precision. Collectors look for turntables with heavy platters, which provide rotational stability and high-quality tone arms that track the record groove with precision. Build quality is everything. Brands known for their Swiss or German engineering are particularly sought after. And finally, the voice of the system is the speakers. A great amplifier is useless without great speakers. Iconic vintage speakers were often massive wooden boxes, designed with innovative acoustic principles. Collectors look for speakers with their original drivers and, importantly, intact foam or rubber surrounds on the woofers. This foam can rot away over time, but if it's original and in good shape, it's a huge plus. Lastly, there's condition and originality. Unlike some antiques where patina's everything with audio gear, functionality's key. Does it power on? Do the lights come on? That's a great first sign. Cosmetically, a clean, scratch-free faceplate is highly desirable. And electronically, most collectors prefer a unit that is all original inside, without extensive repairs or modifications using modern lower-quality parts. It's a balance between a clean appearance and electronic originality. Now, let's talk about the legends. These are the specific pieces of equipment that audiophiles dream of finding. The true grail items that could be sitting in your basement right now. Grail number 1. The Marantz 2270 receiver. If you were to ask 100 collectors to name the most iconic silver-faced receiver of the 1970s, a huge number of them would say the Marantz 2270. Made from 1971 to 1975, the 2270 is, for many, the perfect receiver. It has a powerful 70 watts per channel, which was a huge amount for its time. But its real magic is its look and sound. It features the legendary Marantz Gyro Touch tuning wheel, which feels incredibly smooth and satisfying to turn, and the iconic, beautiful blue backlit dial that gives off an almost magical glow in a dark room. The sound is famously described as being warm and musical, almost like a tube amplifier, but with the power and reliability of solid state. Finding a clean working Marantz 2270, especially with its optional wood case, is a major score for any treasure hunter, easily worth over $1,000 in climbing. Grail number 2. Any McIntosh tube amplifier. If Marantz is the beloved icon, then McIntosh is the absolute undisputed royalty of American audio. Founded in 1949, McIntosh Laboratory built, and still builds, some of the finest audio equipment in the world. Their vintage tube amplifiers from the 1950s and 60s are the stuff of legend. The most famous is probably the MC275 stereo amplifier. It's a masterpiece of engineering with massive transformers at the back and a row of powerful KT88 vacuum tubes. They are famous for their signature look, a polished stainless steel chassis and the iconic black glass front panel with the glowing blue power meters, which have become a symbol of ultimate audio quality. These were incredibly expensive when new and are wildly valuable today. Finding a vintage McIntosh tube amplifier is like finding a Picasso at a yard sale. Depending on the model and condition, they can be worth anywhere from $5,000 to well over $20,000. Grail number 3. The Acoustic Research AR3A speakers. In the world of vintage speakers, one American company stands above many others for its historical importance. Acoustic Research, or AR. In the late 1960s, they introduced the AR3A. This speaker revolutionized the industry. It used a design called acoustic suspension, which allowed a relatively small bookshelf-style speaker to produce deep, accurate, powerful bass that could previously only be achieved with refrigerator-sized speakers. The AR3A became a benchmark for sound quality and was used in recording studios and the homes of serious music lovers everywhere. They are large, heavy, walnut veneer speakers. The biggest challenge with them today is that the foam surrounds on the woofers often rot away. But if you find a pair with their original drivers intact, or that can be properly restored, you have found one of the most iconic speakers in American audio history. Grail number 4, the Thorens TD1-4 turntable. While the amplifier and speakers are crucial, you can't have great sound without a great source. For vinyl, one of the most revered turntables of the golden age is the Thorens TD1-4, a marvel of Swiss and German precision engineering. The TD1-4 was built from 1957 to 1968. It uses a complex idler drive system, which enthusiasts believe imparts a powerful and dynamic quality to the music. The turntable is built like a Swiss watch, with a heavy, stable platter and incredible durability. Finding a TD1-4, even without a tone arm or a wooden base, is a significant find. Audiophiles love to restore these turntables, building custom heavy wooden plinths for them and fitting them with high-end tone arms. A fully restored Thorens TD1-4 is not just a piece of audio gear, it's a functional work of art. Okay, finding a McIntosh is a dream, but what about the gear that was more common but still fantastic? There are many accessible treasures out there that are still worth hundreds of dollars. Look for receivers from Pioneer's SX series or Sansui's G series from the mid to late 1970s. These Japanese companies were at the top of their game, and they built incredible equipment for the American market. Pioneer SX780 or Sansui 5050 are fantastic, beautiful receivers that are very collectible. For speakers, keep an eye out for the large Advent loudspeaker, designed by audio legend Henry Kloss. This was another iconic American speaker from the 1970s that offered incredible sound for its price. They are very common, but a clean working pair is still a great find. For turntables, look for German-made dual models like the 1219 or 1229. These were high-quality, fully automatic turntables that were extremely popular in the US, and they are built to last. You've found a heavy piece of old gear. Now what? Here's a quick guide. Step 1. The weight test. This is the first and easiest rule of vintage audio. Lift it up. If it's surprisingly heavy for its size, that's a very good sign. Quality transformers, capacitors, and chassis construction are all heavy. Lightweight gear from this era is almost always low quality. Step 2. Document the brand and model number. The exact model number is everything. It's usually printed on the front faceplate and on a sticker or plate on the back of the unit. A Pioneer SX780 is worth hundreds. A Pioneer SX1980 is worth over $20,000. The model number is your key to research. Step 3. The cautious power-on test. If you're feeling brave, you can perform a simple test. With nothing else connected, plug the unit in and turn it on. Do any lights on the front panel glow? If so, that's a great sign that the transformer and power supply are likely okay. But be careful. If you smell anything burning or hear any strange noises, unplug it immediately. For old valuable tube gear, it's best not to plug it in at all and leave it for a professional technician. Step 4. Research, research, research. This is where you find the value. The #1 resource online is the audiokarma.org forum. It's a massive community of vintage audio experts who can help you identify what you have and give you advice. For market value, use Hi-Fi Shark, which is a search engine that scours all the major audio marketplaces. And as always, search for the exact brand and model number on eBay and filter by sold items. In a world of disposable tech, there's something magical about these old hi-fi components. They come from a time when things were built with pride, designed to last for generations, and dedicated to the simple, beautiful goal of reproducing music. They are a testament to American and Japanese engineering at its finest. So, before you dismiss that heavy old receiver in the basement as junk, take a closer look. You might be looking at a piece of audio history, a beautiful machine that, with a little care, can still make music sound breathtakingly real. You might be looking at a true hidden treasure. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of vintage audio, please hit that like button, subscribe to Treasure Hunters, and tell us in the comments about the coolest old stereo system you've ever seen or heard.